Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, before I introduce my guests, as I have none, I'm going to do a quick shout out, as I haven't had a pre-show, to all of my Patreons. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation, first of all, to John Travolta, JMals24, my anonymous Patreon, Yuya Nemento, M, Iron26, Eric Troche, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now, I would typically hand over at this point to whoever is in Gilded and G+, but as I say, I've had some technical issues setting up the show today, so I've got absolutely nobody with me, but I will join both of those streams, and hopefully there'll be somebody in there to chat to, and we can get this show on the road. Hello, all of you in Gilded, can you hear me?
Hey, Nathan.
Hello, we are live, just so you know.
Woo-woo.
There we go. Now we're into Google Meet as well, and we can get some guests in. Hello, Neil. Can you hear us?
Yes. How you doing, Nathan?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm doing a lot better once this show actually gets started. I got caught up chatting to Paul, the guy who bought the new computer, and it ended up the time ticked by till about 1:15. And given this computer's all niggly and needs all sorts of things, making adjustments to it as I go along, hopefully for the better, and I won't have to do them every time. But that's what got caught up in. So it took me about an hour to set up OBS. All of the windows needed to be rearranged. Now I've started using 4K monitors, and then downscale to 1080p. And that's what I did, and it meant I had to readjust every single scene and every single window, and it took quite a long time. So I'm sorry for anybody who's hanging around. And I'm sorry if you've tuned in as a member and there wasn't a pre-show. There'll definitely be an after-show, though. So, anyway, welcome one and all. This is technically the official intro, 10 minutes late.
Woo-woo. Glad to be here.
Yeah, at least there's a show. I'm glad I'm not the jinx. Usually when I'm off, there's never a show. But I'm off and there's a show. So that ends that.
No jinx. We're all rocking and rolling, ready to go. Let's do better housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon formerly known as Earth curvature.
Like I
they're
said
gonna have
yesterday,
to rethink that one.
Like I said yesterday, they still claim that boats go over it. So nobody's listening. So it's formally known to us since 1st Jan 2020, right? Black Swan. The world hasn't caught up yet.
I'm just pleased that this show's getting rendered in 4K and then downscaled to 1080. It means at any point in the future that I decide that we actually need a decent resolution of image, which at the moment we don't. There's nothing we put on screen that requires a higher quality resolution. But when we do, it'll be ready. Very excited. Anyway,
so I like that really high quality picture of the maid. But go ahead, sorry, Tim.
Exactly, we get a really high definition mega maid. I won't do that. I'll keep it at 1080 for now. But everything's set up in lieu of that, so it's ready to do that if I ever decide to up the resolution of the output. But for now, it's the same as it ever was. It's 1080p, 60 frames per second. But that could change in future, isn't it? Exciting, tech geeks. Anyway, any evidence of axial
Hang on.
Oh, okay.
My goodness. You guys are more excited about 10K resolution or 4K resolution, whatever you guys are talking about, than the argument reaching the world.
No, 10th man over 10K. We got you, 10th man.
Well, he's got to
got
be
you.
ready when it reaches the world. That's all he's saying.
No, I'm going off of what you said. Now, what makes you think it's going to reach the whole world when we're the only show talking about it at the moment?
At the moment. But listen, truth always prevails. It'll get there.
Oh, now you get positive. My goodness, the way you said that was like, oh my gosh, no one's getting it. Now you're saying, oh yeah, they're going to get it.
No, I'm saying it's formally known to us, but to the world they don't know. But it'll get there. Truth always prevails.
No, I know that. That this is such a killer argument. There's no coming back from it. I mean, if you live on a sphere, you have to have an R value, and the R value is going to give you a limitation. And that limitation is what they said is blocking the bottoms of boats and buildings. Well, not anymore.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there. Channeling my inner Arwen. Distance to what exactly?
That ball of light up in the sky.
What is it? How about that?
I don't know what it
Heat
is. What's the
source.
distance to it? Anybody?
It's a heat source. I get burned when I'm under it too long.
No, LV light.
What are you talking about? Light.
Can you get a distance to a rainbow?
No.
Oh, okay. I rest my case.
But you can derive a bullshit mathematical derivation of distances to rainbows. That's been done. The actual unit's called an AU. It's an Arwinian unit. One distance to the rainbow is two distances to the moon. So 2x, a distance to the rainbow, is a distance to the moon. 3x, the distance to a rainbow, is the distance to the sun. 3 AU, 3 Arwinian units.
All right, well, I'll have my answer ready for tomorrow.
So you can say
I refuse to believe that the sun is 33% bigger than the moon and 30% further away.
it's all just a happy coincidence in the heliocentric model. They just happen to scale perfectly so that they look exactly the same size from our perspective. But one is 93 million miles away and the other's, 250,000 miles away.
Well, I was saying in Arwinian units. Yeah, I think it's 50% in the heliocentric model, but in the description, Arwinian units.
Well, why do we call it a model if there is no model? Why don't we call it the heliocentric belief or the heliocentric shite?
Delusion.
Neil's pointing out that there's no model. So today I released a little clip to go and subscribe to him if you haven't seen him already. A YouTuber called The Real. What's his name again? I've only just watched this guy. Someone posted a link to him. I think it's The Real Question Everything is the name of the YouTuber. I'll just double check that. Yes, it is. The Real Question Everything. And his attitude was, why do you keep asking us flat earthers for a model when you just present us with CGI like these asteroids? Now, I read that between the lines and went, what he's actually saying is, there is no model for a globe Earth, but yet we get asked for a model. And when we ask you for a model, you present us with CGI garbage, as opposed to a working heliocentric globe model. You don't have one. There isn't one. Why are you asking us for one? You know, is it fair to just offer the same standard back that you offer us when you say, here's our model, and you show us some CGI garbage? The Real Question Everything was saying, well, we'll do that then. Here's some crappy CGI flat Earth. Go on, it's been good enough for you up until now. That's his attitude, and I kind of agree with him. I thought it was very funny, actually, when he said it. I just started laughing, hence me advertising him. Whoever it was that shared that with me in the Skype group,
funny.
Thank you very much, because it was very amusing. The Real Question Everything, very, very amusing.
Nathan, to give a model, would they need measurements?
One more time?
Also might need a runway.
A
If
runway?
they were to give us a model, would they need to have measurements?
Yeah. I'm going to say yeah.
Well then, all right. So the reason they don't give us one is because elevation angle is what? It's a flat Earth angle measurement they'd have to give, and they don't want to go there.
But they don't
So
go
it's
anywhere.
deliberate.
There's literally no model. If you Huey pointed this out on Cathexis's channel. Well, I say he pointed it out on Cathexis's channel. He told Cathexis, and then Cathexis had a few globers over a barrel with it. When he's like, okay, you keep going on about your model, let's have a look at it. And I'd never considered it until I heard Cathexis say it. And whatever my show was at the time, it might have been Flat Earth UK. I commended him. I was like, wow, what a great argument. All Cathexis did was ask this glober to show him his model, and the guy couldn't do it. And I remember barking on about how wonderful Cathexis was, and then QE came on the scene and was like, that wasn't actually Cathexis's argument, it was mine, I gave him that. I was like, oh, right, okay. The same thing happened with Validation Boy. So Validation Boy said that almost every single example of a globe Earth proof will start with the assumption that you're on a sphere. And again, I was like, wow, that's profound. That's so cool. And then I commended VB, over and over again for that particular comment. And then again, QE is like, you do realise he got that from me. There's a lot of things in the Flat Earth community that are top notch that have come from QE.
Hold on. I think you're not. No. Brian had it 2 weeks prior to QE both times.
Well, that's later. That did actually transpire. Although QE had actually mentioned it to other people prior to me hearing it from VB, it was actually Brian that had published it in a video at least a couple of weeks before QE even came on the scene, I think.
Where did they get their angle measurements from the Nautical Almanac? From the surface of a presupposed sphere or equatorial plane, which is a flat great circle disk?
They measure it on the plane. They're standing on a plane. They take an angle from the plane. It's a plane. Yeah. Earth's flat.
Right. That's why they won't come up with a model, because you'd say, well, how do you get your angle measurements from your model? They said, well, we have to use a flat plane.
Right. Agreed.
Well,
go on, John.
If Earth was a sphere, and we measured it as a sphere, then why would we have to apply the Habersign formula to it? That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, why move Santiago?
If your orders were Santiago's not to be touched, and your orders are always followed, then why would it be necessary to transfer Santiago off the base? You can't handle the truth! Yeah, Earth's flat.
I was just going to say, you want answers? What again?
I want the truth.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
That strikes me as really funny.
Is that a no?
Did you ask about gravity? I'm sorry.
What it is? I don't know.
Did
Wow.
chocolate start that?
That was crazy.
That was great. That was an echo of chocolate and Tyson at the same time. That was brilliant. Beautiful.
Well, gravity as it's described in Einsteinian mechanics, relativity, it's a sort of a counter space to the space that we experience, like a fourth dimension, a dimension other than the dimension we exist in, right?
Yeah,
Sort of a
pseudo-Riemannian force space-time is the name Einstein gave it, but the fourth dimension being the time dimension, yes.
Right. So, and the way they graph it is they put a Cartesian coordinate system up, and then they graph motion along that using time as one axis and space as the other. And I mean, I don't think anybody else would do that in this arena besides those guys.
It's funny you should say that. There is actually people in this arena, as difficult as this may be to believe given your last statement, that do something very, very similar with a non-existent ether. I mean, you may be unaware of this, but you know, I just don't want to have to disagree with you. But just by coincidence, there are people peddling almost the same exact nonsense. Shout out to Godzilla37. It says, if you had switched from AUs to 4K, this would have been $20. your loss, but it's your time to upscale your super chats, says Godzilla37. I kind of understand that. Normally we don't do technical talk in the live show, Godzilla. It's normally reserved only for pre-shows. But given that we only had a live show today, I couldn't help but talk about technical things like 4K resolutions. My bad, but thank you for the super chat.
Well, just to get back to the point for a second, because I've been told that ether is an anti-relativity claim.
No, it's not. I mean, Einstein was all for the ether. QE's recently read out a quote from Einstein where he explicitly states that there must be an ether. That would be the non-existent.
See, though,
go on.
But if you put anti in front of relativity and say, the exact same thing, then you're opposing them by saying the same thing.
No, saying the same thing and just saying that it's anti doesn't make it actually in opposition to something that's in agreement with you or parallels with you.
Well, I think that they say Einstein proposed that a physical medium had to be there versus they're saying it's not physical, it's the background. I don't know.
No, that's incorrect. He took that. He said that it was space had to be made up of certain properties, and then in the next sentence he said, but it has no effect on the physical world. So, yeah, it's the same thing.
Nathan, how we get to ether from time?
How do we get to ether from time?
Yeah, your question was about talking about space-time, how they introduced time, but time is not a causal power or a causal agent.
No, it's not.
Because the question was about gravity.
No, but it is an effect in pseudo-Riemannian for space-time. You can have that conceptual idea of time bending and dilating in pseudo-Riemannian for space. That's Einsteinian, nonsensical, non-real, non-physical, mathematical descriptions of space. But they're not real.
But
you can bend and dilate time in that.
Right. So just La La Land mathematics? Is that what it is?
I mean, I can mathematicize Narnia, if you like, and give you the maths of the consumption of unicorn tears that the gas lamp uses up when you first get there. I can math.
Don't make it real.
Okay,
Hold on, I have an anti-unicorn tears theory on the gas lamp.
Hold on. This isn't an agree-disagree situation. I have the maths for how much they consume. It's kind of like saying that men haven't been to the moon when I can calculate how much rocket fuel they've used. I can calculate it like I can calculate how much unicorn tear consumption there is in the gas lamp in Narnia. This is an outrage. How dare you?
Yeah, but when he says that about the fuel, he fools people. That's all he had to say, and everybody buys it.
No fooling anybody. I know how much unicorn tear consumption there is in the gas lamp in Narnia. I've got the maths. We've calculated it. In fact, it'd be more difficult to fake there being a gas lamp in Narnia that runs on unicorn tears than it would be to not have the maths. Let's be honest about this.
Another magic trick. Another magic trick. It's ridiculous when you think about it. Wow.
See, I don't think
that's one of my favorite ones right there. It would be, it's easier, it's harder to fake it than it is to actually do it. Like, are people even thinking when they say shit like that? Like, is that even a serious statement?
Well, he's trying to imply logistics, but back to the real important thing of the unicorn tears, because I have a horse with a single horn on its head tears theory that is really going to put that into some trouble.
Not unicorns. Look, as much as people have tried to replicate and produce synthetic unicorn tears, the gas lamps only run on unicorn tears. Yes, 10th. Please don't use the raise your hand button. Or are you just pressing it with your pocket? It's in his phone, he's accidentally pressing pans up. All we can hear is you bing-bonging 10th. Did you want to say something? Eli, stop it. You're just doing it to annoy me.
Is that what that is? I was pressing that the other day. I was like, what is this? I kept pressing it.
That's
annoying.
No, but legitimately, the first day I saw it, I did raise my hand a number of times, and I was like, well, Nathan's ignoring it, so it doesn't work.
Hey, Adam.
Adam just raised his hand.
Was I
Emissary,
pushing it?
stop it.
Was
I
I
just want to say good
accidentally pushing?
afternoon.
You
I'm
don't have to
sorry,
raise your
Adam.
hand. Yes, I can see that you flash and cause audio chaos. Generally speaking, just go with what works. Audio chaos, we're all used to. Raising hands and hearing bing bongs, no one's used to.
I'm confused. Was I doing it? Is my question.
Yes, you were. Yes, very irritating it was too.
Is it still doing it now, or what?
No, there is no electronic hand up anymore. We are okay for electronic
Although I
hands.
was very
The reason I say that is because for the first time I'm even seeing it on my phone.
You have upset me in interrupting the horned horse versus unicorn argument about the gaslamp in Narnia. I don't know if I can even tolerate this anymore.
Well, it's just
The-
stupid. It's
Call
like
it
me
the
saying
unicorn hypothesis.
it's like saying I can invent a I don't know, adamantium fuel calculation for the rockets that went up to the second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum, and therefore the calculations for the real rocket fuel that was used in the real rockets in the fake sky vacuum is somehow debunked. I mean, I'm not having that, John. That's just, again, an outrage.
No, they wouldn't use adamantium. It's too heavy. They'd use vibranium.
Vibratium?
Vibranium, yeah.
Is that like how you get when you convert Chinesium? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's what Captain America's shield's made out of.
On the
So it's
periodic
much
table,
much lighter for the the second law of thermodynamics violation.
Why China's going to take over the world. Chinesium is a very, very durable product.
I was about to say it's like right below bullshittium on the periodic table.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Well, how could they do it if they wanted to, if they tried?
Do what, Neil?
Yeah, be more specific.
How could they put anything they see in the sky? How could they form a hypothesis and put it through the scientific method if they can't get there?
You can't.
You just get there.
Step one is
Just make a
observe a phenomena.
spacecraft.
So no, you can't.
Sounds like a them problem, not an our problem. You know what I mean?
Just make a spacecraft out of aluminum foil. That
Yeah,
you
John's
could,
right.
You could accidentally poke a hole through with your finger. But that's obviously safe enough to go into the second law of thermodynamics violation, right? Right?
No, you got to get past Van Halen first.
What was with that Van Halen reference from QE? Got to get past the Van Halen belts, he said.
That's the 2022 version of Van Allen belts.
Is that what we're calling them now, Van Halen?
Why not?
Because it's named after a particular man. You know, if you're going to label and name and shame that bullshitter, you might as well give him the namesake he's given the bullshit that he made up. Van Allen belt is Mr. Van Allen.
Yeah, but with Van Halen, you can also talk about string theory.
Boom.
Very good, Ted.
Not bad, not bad. That did bring me a smile to my face, I'm not going to lie. Right, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
If I say P waves and S waves, can I ignore the flat plane I measured the return signal with?
No, it's labeled Earth sonogram now.
Earth sonograms, right. Let's go through this a bit, actually. So, in light of the elevation angle argument, there's angles that are being measured left, right, and centre. And one of the claims that are made by the globe believers is that they've got primary and secondary wave return signals that they can measure when they blast whatever it is they're blasting into the ground to get a return signal. I don't know exactly how it works. I don't need to. I know it doesn't work, i.e. the Kohler super deep borehole when they drilled that, which is about, I don't know, 6-inch diameter, if that, hole that went 8 point something miles down. I think it's about 12k. That had incorrect predictions from the primary and secondary wave return. So it didn't pad out the way they expected. The predictions didn't pad out. So that's the first rebuttal that we've typically used until now. However, what are they measuring? I'll hand over to John as this is his point. I don't want to steal his thunder. Go ahead, John.
Well, yeah, if you're measuring a return signal, it's got to have an angle of incident that it interacts with the measuring tool. So you'll need a flat baseline, which I don't know how you're going to work in atmospheric refraction to that baseline. That'll be a rough one, guys.
Yeah. So the return signal is going to be measured with an angle. You're going to need a flat Earth to do that. So what was a comical rebuttal to a made-up story about a molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth turns out to be only possible to measure, accurate or inaccurate, if you've got a flat baseline to measure it with. Brilliant.
Well, what if their prediction, if they hadn't inserted R to their predictions, do you think they might have been closer to being correct?
Well, inserting R doesn't change the fact that they're still measuring an angle.
No, I was talking in terms of their predictions and what they expected to see. Maybe it's because they created a model that had an R value and applied that to Earth, thinking that's what they were going to experience when they measured it.
Maybe. That could be the case. I don't think they'd be off by bending an angle line, because it mathematically would not compute. They'd have to make the measurements using the angle return, correct? That's your point.
Right, yeah. But whenever they're doing their prediction, they'll be doing it with an R value. What they measure will be with a flat plane, so no wonder it didn't match up, is what I mean.
I never
We
expected.
still talking P waves and S waves?
Yeah, we're talking molten iron core evidence. That's the response we've had in the past.
What about the gravity tunnel?
What about it?
It says you could get through Earth in 42 minutes if you dug a hole and jumped through it. I just read it. Live science.
Yeah, but somewhere in that article it will say that this is a theoretical idea. And by theoretical, they don't mean scientific theory. They mean it's just a notion they've come up with, some bullshit story based on the notion of Earth being a sphere and drilling a tunnel from one side to the other.
Well, they call it a scenario.
Yeah, scenario, whatever you want to call it. Anyway.
Doesn't that make Earth kind of small, though? If I could go through from one side to the other, if it was a ball and it was 39.59, that's kind of quick to go through. 42 minutes, that's it? Isn't Earth kind of small?
Yes.
But they've been telling me for so long it's
Yes.
so big that you would never feel a movement.
Yes, Earth as a
Seconds, not
sphere,
minutes.
as the heliocentric model describes it, is incredibly small, and that comes with its own raft of problems. Now, we're just starting to get to grips with this, thanks to Brian exposing this notion. But there's not enough land on a globe. There isn't enough surface area on a globe. So when you say it's small, that isn't just the notion of, wow, it doesn't take long to cross a spherical surface if you consider that it is one, when it isn't. But further to that, there's more wider reaching, in the most literal sense, implications to that small size of the sphere Earth. There's not enough land. For the stuff we measure, I'm not talking about there's more land beyond that we haven't encountered that could be measured. I'm talking about what we actually measure and navigate. There isn't enough of it on a sphere. Brian's covered this. If you want to see it, go and check out Brian's video on the hijacking of a circle. That's how he's titled it.
Is that the 4 rushes or something? 5 rushes?
No, it's about circles of equal elevation measurements based on the maximum available to you if you were to take an elevation angle measurement to Polaris. With only 2 circles of equal elevation, you chew up the entirety of the globe surface area.
Oh, dear.
I think that's just a coincidence that we have a certain admiral that came out on live television and told everybody that there's a span of land size of the continental United States that hasn't been explored. Now we're finding out there's not enough land in the model.
Right. That was Bird, right?
I'm sure it's a coincidence.
Was that Bird on the
Court.
catchy title?
sir.
Was it the Chronohonomologina Horoscope show?
Yeah, is there any validity
yeah,
to
something
that?
like that.
Yeah, I recently showed that to my wife. So, again, that was off the back of something that was in The Crown. So, they were showing certain... what was the plot? I can't remember the plot because I wasn't watching it. I just got shown this particular part of it. But they're discussing Antarctica and the... what what's his name, Duke of Edinburgh, has gone down as a young man to Antarctica. And again, I can't remember because it was a while back that I watched this, but they were being particularly vague about what they'd found there and particularly elusive about what was down there. And what they showed was the Queen showing someone else where he was on a globe, and the general confusion about what Antarctica was, where it was, and how it compared to the north and the regions that are available to us on the north. Now, when I think the reason my wife asked me about it was like, why isn't that on our map? And I was like, well, if you look at any modern map, there isn't anything at the north. It's just an empty space now, and they just say it melts. But there's nothing there. Whereas you go back and there's the Hyperborean, I think it's called, with the Mount Meru in the middle of some maps. There's various different depictions of it. Same goes for Antarctica. But not enough for me to obviously bring it up on a live show and discuss that particular aspect. But again, it just seems very telling that the way they portrayed it was that there was very vague, ambiguous information available to the royal family at the time. This is in our recent history. This is with the Queen that's just passed away, going, well, what exactly is down there? And then that was why I was like, well, here you go. This is about the time that this guy, Bird, goes on national TV and discusses all of the extra land and all of the minerals and all of the wealth that's potentially south of Antarctica. Now, then you have the moon landing, right? That's how the order of things goes. They have fishbowl, high jump, then the moon landing. So if you're not familiar with fishbowl and high jump, then just look them up.
Yeah,
Well, they had to cover his tracks.
That was obviously a coincidence, right? This guy comes out, he's on national television talking about all this land that hasn't been discovered, hasn't been explored, plenty of resources I'm sure the whole world will be interested in. And right after that, let's forget that. Let's start looking up. And then let's start up NASA, let's start shooting things in the sky. Yeah, nothing to see here.
Yeah, but look
And
how
then
they
this
did
guy
that.
who's classified as like one of the best explorers. Like I think they call him like the real life Indiana Jones at the time. And we're just going to ignore what he just said on national television. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, because they made it like a nothing to see here. Because now look, we made it to the moon. Look at what Earth looks like. Nothing to see here.
No, we didn't even make it to the moon yet. This is when we start talking about the moon, and NASA's
Correct.
creation is about to start.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Correct.
So
that
they
was
didn't
what I was
have
trying
that.
to point out to my wife when I was showing her. I was like, this is the timings. So no mention of moon, just mentions of Arctic discoveries. And at the time that on this Crown show that my wife's been watching, which Adam assures me has come from memoirs, so how accurate it is, they apparently say it's pretty accurate, the royals, that is, after checking it out from what I've read, or what my wife has read, I should say. But in any event, they're alluding to the same thing. They're implying that the Duke of Edinburgh is down at Antarctica around about this sort of time. Before moon landings, point being.
Yeah, but then they had to establish the moon landing,
what
so they
else?
take their eyes off of it.
What else was established right after that?
Antarctic
Oh,
Treaty.
the Antarctic Treaty. Nothing to see here, guys.
And then the
Wow.
maps start changing, so then you start losing the Arctic at the north. It starts being erased from maps. In our lifetime.
Wow,
Nuts, huh?
there's some evil people.
It's going back, man. This takes me back to like 2014, 2015, or whatever it was when we first started. Adam, you'll remember this. Me and
Yeah.
Martin specifically focused on the maps. That was Martin's forte, and I was intrigued. And my first ever flat Earth meet was to Hereford Cathedral to see the cowskin map, which is the oldest one in existence according to what we know so far, which is called the Mappa Mundi, or Mappa Mundi, I should say. And we went and had a look at that, which was so devoid from any remnants of looking like what we now know as the world that we're presented with. Don't get me wrong, they didn't have any accurate ways of laying out the territory, but they must have had a vague idea, and it doesn't look anything like, certainly didn't look like a sphere. You know, it was about as devoid of being a sphere as you could get. But anyway, that was my opening into this, and meeting Martin Liedtke and going through this particular process. And I know, Adam, you were around at the time, right? You were OG Flat Earth at the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was glued to stuff.
Into your mic.
Oh, say I was just trying.
I'm trying to find my copy of the Mappa Mundi. You get Africa and Europe mixed up, which is one of the interesting things. There we go, 40.
Right, but
I was just looking at those maps recently. And I've come across a YouTube this past week. I'll try and dig it out, but when you look at the old maps with Hyperborea, and someone's pointing out the angle of Iceland. The old maps as well have Scotland going off in a different direction.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
But it's the same, apparently, when you look at these Mercator projections with Hyperborea, that the orientation of Iceland is very different. Complete side. I'll try and see if I can find the video. It's highlighted, but
If
yeah,
you can,
the
if
old
you can dig
maps
out.
are very different. You kind of assume they're the same, but actually, further inspection, there is a whole remodeling in the north as well.
Obviously, no new worlds are on there because it's such an old map. They've not been discovered yet, or according to our history in terms of when they're discovered and how they're discovered, not at this particular stage, so they're not even on there. But that might be a reason for why a lot of the mapping doesn't work in the way it's supposed to. You know, some of the territories discovered in the quote-unquote Southern Hemisphere mess everything up. That's why you end up with Chicken Nugget Australia and all the different distorted projections of Australia. They're all over the place. Did you see that, by the way, Adam? I posted a load of which chicken nugget is Australia.
No, I haven't caught that.
Don't worry, it wasn't that funny. In any event.
Hey, Nathan, you gave me an idea. I think we ought to have the panel vote on it. We should do one show called the Flat Earth Debate Timeline Show, where you guys go back to the arguments when you first started all the way to now. Just not anything rehearsed, but just like we were doing earlier.
I don't really follow.
Okay, let me say it in English. Do a show where everybody goes back to the original arguments of 5, 6, 7 years ago when you started, and start working up and creating a timeline to where we are with the housekeeping questions.
Well, that's kind of why we've got numbered debate shows. So somebody recently, although the comment was about the sound quality as opposed to the content quality, went back to an older show. That's the point. That's why they're there. That's why I publish them on 2 channels in case one happens to go down.
That wasn't my suggestion. That wasn't my question. I'm saying just in retrospect, in one show to cover, just like you and Chocolate were going through Admiral Byrd, then this, then that, and then all of a sudden Fishbowl High jumped, and after that Antarctic Treaty. Okay, and you said, which gave me the idea, man, I can't believe we're going back to things we used to talk about back then. And this, I said, well, it'd be great just to, by memory, not choreographed. Adam would know a lot and others can contribute up until now, kind of like how we've progressed here. Because you don't ask questions about Antarctica. It's not part of the housekeeping questions anymore, right? But originally you would, it might have made it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we will. We're reminiscing
Wow,
now.
you're
We're all
so-
comfortable.
You're so enthused, I could tell.
Just because we were talking about it, and I know obviously the vets, they know what's up with it, but if anybody's new or wants to find that interview with Admiral Byrd, it was on a show in between 1951 and 55, I think, called the Long Jeans Chronoscope. Pretty easy to find. You can find it on YouTube real quick. Obviously, it's nothing empirical, but it's just a very interesting aspect of this entire genre, because the the coincidence of this guy saying something like that, somebody highly regarded in the U.S. military as an explorer and an admiral, and for him to say what he said, and then all of a sudden everything shifts away from that. It's kind of crazy. So if you're new to this, look into it. It's pretty interesting.
They basically said, put a sock in it, Bird.
He makes, again, it's a restructuring of what's there. I think he makes the statement, Chuck, something like, past the South Pole, there's a region of land called Little America. It's roughly the same geographic size with untapped minerals. He makes all sorts of, Longines thing.
Chronoscope.
Yeah, it's a good. That's a really old school one that, just starts you wondering about this, because you've got this very well respected military man who's making what is now a contradiction. They will deny that all that stuff went off. It's never discussed how America got their ass whooped, by whoever or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. So
And then if you're going to develop a whole industry like right in that time period, why wouldn't this industry be focused on what this man just spoke about live on national television, right? Why wouldn't you develop a NASA, quote unquote, for exploration of Antarctica to further explore it, right? Why would that automatically now be shut down? Right afterwards, we get the Antarctic Treaty, which so many, I forget how many countries signed on to in the beginning, but it's still literally a treaty today. Can't be renegotiated, I don't think, for I don't know how many years, right? And then all of a sudden now they create NASA to go explore space. I mean, come on, that's crazy.
Penguins are important. We don't need to mess up their habitat.
Yeah, that's why we need a treaty, right?
Hey guys,
just
a
while
quick,
this is
just
not
talking about.
Go ahead.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, go
There's
ahead.
one deck. I was just saying, you've probably seen it, you guys. I just stumbled on it yesterday on maps that come up on Instagram. Someone posted it was Antarctica, and it was just showing the resemblance between the shape of Antarctica and the human brain. And they were saying like it's because it's a mind control thing and a lie. But when you do look at it, it does look like the human brain shape of it. To tell you the truth.
Okay.
Wait, man, that gives you a run for the chicken McNugget of Australia. You gotta give them some chops for that.
I'll give it some thought.
Before I drop this picture now, you mentioned the Mappa Mundi. Can you see on screen? I'd like to say this is stuff you do when you first say. You can see I bothered to try and start colouring a few bits and bobs in, trying to highlight it to kind of orientate the map a bit. So there's Jerusalem, which is the centre of the map. But you can see here, look, we've got Greece. We scroll down the Mediterranean here, Gibraltar here. But if I zoom out, look,
going a bit quickly. So you covered it already, but the prime meridian's moved. So on a modern map, we here in the UK, we are on the prime meridian, right? We're at 0. Whereas in this map, it's Jerusalem.
Yeah, they're not using meridians. It's just the center of the earth.
No, but by comparison, I mean.
Yeah. What I found very interesting is it's just a tiny bit of miscellany though. Is they spent a heck of a lot of money on this vellum and all the artistry, but look at the mistake. Is it a mistake? Is the question I ask you. This is Africa here. Look how it's labelled, Europa, and this is Europe here. And it's labelled Africa. They got it the wrong way around, apparently. No, can you see? I'll go to the top and you can see Asia, ASIA, Asia. This is the Mediterranean, Italy, Crete, Corsica, yeah. This is Europe here. Look, there's Paris here. Yeah. But they've labelled the map wrong. Africa, Europa.
So you're saying it's possible that I'm African?
So you're saying
African. Right?
Paris is labelled as being in Africa?
Well, look, there's Paris here. Look, let me zoom in. Yeah, Paris there. On this side. And as you can see, look, let me zoom out so you can see it all. Can you see? AFERICA. Africa. And like I said, you think, and then to have Europa upside down, look, EUROPA on the other side in Africa. I'll just
show them what's on the outside edges.
Well, if we go here, look, you just get lots of little lands. You get all these strange creatures as well.
That's what I was hoping you'd find. Gone straight to it. Right, you've got all these weird monsters.
These are described in lots of texts at the time, the different peoples. There might be the dog-headed people as well, but these are the people with their no heads, but all the organs are in their chest. But this is not the first and only bit they're described. As you go around, you might see some of the others, but you get all sorts of weird folk. But the dog heads, is Arwin here? I would have thought
he's just come. Yeah, he's just arrived.
Yeah.
Hey, Arwin.
He'd probably know about these as well, but kind of medieval examples. But it's a really, I'm serious, you can just spend hours looking at the document, because you see, look, I found Mesopotamia, and then I've started to do a little bit of Tartarian search and stuff, and if you come out, you'll see all, because you got Gog and Magog and stuff in here as well, I think.
Hello, everyone. Could I just say that the dog-headed people, or the dog people, they were in Irish mythology, they were called Lerna Fuela. They are part of Irish mythology as being an actual group of beings. Yeah.
They look a bit wolf to me.
Still more believable than living on a magical spinning water ball flying around in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You got Tartaria next to the cake area.
Yeah.
Brian, I understand they had a rough character trait.
Rough.
Hey, well, hold on a sec. Maybe heliocentrism is a way to keep us from getting eaten by the dog people, so we don't go exploring too far out, and then the dog-headed people eat us.
It's not the first time you've done this. So you come up with a whimsical idea of how chivalrous and kind, and how this notion of us being on a sphere is actually in place to protect us from the bad guys at the outside, and therefore a nice little story that keeps us self-contained. This isn't the first time you've done this, is it, John? So what's with the...
Very annoying, too.
It's not annoying. I just want to... What's the motive? I don't know. Why extrapolate out this notion and then verbalise it?
Well, it's not necessarily that there's the bad people out there. I think, most of the bad people I've ever met are here in this world. I don't know if it would be beneficial to everyone outside of the plane we experience if we brought our culture with us to them. It's just what I think.
Well, it's easier to control someone if you're able to give them the impression they live on something they don't.
Yeah, that may be, but hold on, Brian. Yes, I agree, but what I'm saying to John is you didn't really answer me. What you did was actually expand on the fantasy. So I'm still no closer to why you would assume that there's a good-hearted intent rather than a nefarious one.
Well, usually it's associated with a nefarious, and I think the other side of it should be represented too if we're going to put a nefarious intent, No,
that's fair enough. So in the interest of balance, where many, if not all, flat earthers would say they're lying to us, pitchforks and torches, we need to stop them, it might actually be the case that you get to the gates and they go, okay, fine, we'll show you why we've had to lie and make you think that you can't go out beyond the borders of the horizon. Here's why. See this door? Check out what's behind it. Yeah, you probably don't want to go behind that door.
That's speaking to intent, man. What is
Exactly.
the motivation of their lying? John's not denying they're lying still. He's just saying they're lying because it's a white lie. It's a protective lie. But I can never speak to their motivation as to why they're lying, but it's apparent they're lying to me. I tend to assume a negative
it's
reason.
Obvious. It's
Course, they're
for our protection,
landlords.
man. It's for our protection. Why do you think they came up with the Antarctic Treaty? Right?
Landlords.
Hold
Can I
on.
just-
Neil knows about this sort of stuff. Come on, you can talk to protection, Neil.
I'm just saying, there's landlords. There's people that freaking are protecting all the land out there. They don't want us to know about it. They couldn't give a crap about us. They just want to possess it all.
Right, but in the original Godfather, you've got the Black Hand, right? And what's his job? He's the enforcer. He's there to offer you protection. isn't he?
Yes, protection from other bad people.
Right, from the bad monsters at the outside edge. They're just protecting us from them. Now give me your money.
Yeah, you're being protected from people exactly the same as them. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's like we're protecting you from people who are exactly the same as us. It's that kind of a thing. Can I just throw something in? For the audience, the biggest hoodwink for anyone who's a flat earther when it comes to the moon and Antarctica was they stated, excuse me, before they ever claimed to go to the moon, that they found moon rocks in Antarctica. Now, most people will say, how did you know those rocks were from the moon? No, you're missing the point. They found moon rocks, right? They were instilling into your head that the moon is a rock before they ever decided to go there. So the answer to that is not, how did you know those rocks were from the moon? No, it's, how did you know the moon was made of rock? Is the question.
Yeah, they did the same thing.
It's a giant petrified apple.
Either way, when they say craters, the same magic trick starts, doesn't it? The implication is that it's a giant rock and it's had other rocks flying into it, causing those holes as a physical impact. We have no idea what a quote-unquote crater is, but we've got a whole backstory that implies physicality when we describe them as craters.
Yeah, craters here are claimed to be... Just very quickly, Chocolate. Craters here are claimed to be created by asteroids from space. You know, that's how those craters were created. So those craters on the moon were also created the same way in heliocentric space. Sorry, Chocolate.
Now, I was just going to expand on that and say, now we have a wonderful story by our favorite astrophysicist as to why all those craters look like something impacted this supposed rock 90 degrees straight up, vertical.
Because of the magic speed.
There you go. Insane.
Well, magic speed is like in between ridiculous speed and ludicrous speed.
But there's worse than that, because in today's world, we're told that up on the Antarctic, what they call the Antarctic ice shelf, right, which could be just one round, big, stupid, round-looking place of ice, right, if it exists, right, as we're told, gets to as low as minus 80 degrees Celsius in the wintertime, and only rises between minus 50 and minus 30 or something in the summertime, right? So we're told this about this Antarctica place. Yet there's video out there of black and white video of these people who are the US military exploring the place and coming to a sunny beach where they're all taking it easy and playing around on the beach, where there was water and sunshine and things growing and sand. You know, it was nearly like
that's what that's also the testimony of Robert Shortman. So if you go back to my interview called Confessions of an Antarctic Plumber, he describes going out in the Antarctic and it being very mild, having to wear a t-shirt. And he said that at one point, because he likes it warm, he, being in charge of the plumbing, turned the heating up a little bit too much. And as a result, all of this, I shouldn't be laughing because it's terrible, really. They're supposed to be conserving the wildlife integrity. They're not supposed to be introducing anything to that environment. That's the idea, right? But just by turning the heat up, according to Robert, all of this stuff that was dormant, sort of sleeping in the wood, started to hatch. So suddenly all these bugs are flying around in this sort of, you can just imagine it pure white with all these little bugs flying around that have come out of your station because you've just got the heat on a little bit too high. All the wildlife comes back to life that you brought with you.
Yeah. Exactly. It is. There's like they call it the driest place on Earth because it's called a desert officially. But maybe it's called a desert because once you get past if it is a place like we're told it is, then maybe you get past the icy part and you end up in a desert-like condition with sunny beaches. You know, it's like a pizza too. You know what I mean? Who knows? You know what I mean? But then you can't go there You can't go there. Right?
That might be the greatest vacation spot never discovered.
Well, maybe that's where they all go on vacation.
Right.
Yeah.
Like these regular peasants and their treaties they have to follow. Look at us at the beaches of Antarctica.
Right, shout out to Unitox Femu. It says, sphere is visually flat, calculated optical object. Thank you very much for the super chat.
I want to give Adam a hard time for slipping in behind the little thing I was doing with intent to reassert that it's a lie when it's a false dichotomy between.
That's not what he did. That's not fair. That's not what he did. He pointed out that it makes no difference either way because you're just divining their motivation. He didn't explicitly state that it's just as unreasonable to divine motivation in the negative as it is in the positive, but that's certainly what I gleaned from what Adam said.
No, hold on. No, because if you don't have the intention to deceive, it can't be a lie. You can be wrong without being a liar.
That's what I'm saying. Even if you, as I thought you were saying, assigning a positive motivation, I don't think there's any discussion, unless that's your point, that they're lying.
No, I was, when everybody says that they're lying, they're divining their intent, and I was just doing the same thing. But I still hold the position that they could just be wrong.
No, that's what I would disagree with. I think if we're talking about things like the Antarctic Treaty, then they're lying.
Yeah.
How do you know that? Wait, how do you know that?
It's pretty simple. You know that because
hold on, Tenth.
If anybody wants,
hold on, just let Adam answer. Go on.
Okay. So I would look at the history of these things, the changes in what's gone off, and I would look at the excuses and the restrictions put in place there. No one, if they're in government and world political government, would be that naive and be that ill-informed to present the case that we're told that it's all about looking after the penguins. Therefore, they must have more knowledge, guaranteed, just from the position they're in. Whether they know about New Schwabenland and Nazi bases, that's all kind of immaterial. The point is, the narrative they feed the general public is we're protecting the penguins. We can't let an old crisp packet fall in the sea down there. That's where I say they're lying. It's a straight lie. It's self-contradictory off of it. It's nonsense. So that's where I say they're lying. As to why they're lying, what they think they're protecting us from is and why they are lying, whether it's for our benefit or detriment, I can't speak to that motivation. But I think that the information they present demonstrates they're lying.
Right. So you're not asserting that they know the truth. You're just asserting that they're making stuff up about Antarctica.
I'm saying, they present a narrative to us that they know is false. Now, whether the narrative that they know is the ultimate truth is a moot point, isn't it? To that.
And again, we can't speak to the messengers of this peddled nonsense because they might not be the perpetrators.
Well, right. There's a difference between maybe even the people that are in here and the people that are the actual people that are saying that they're on an ISS, like the ones that are videotaped on an ISS, like they're lying. They know what's up. Somebody knows what's up.
Well, not necessarily knows what's up, knows that there's lies afoot. So there's a difference. Yes, astronauts know they're lying, but that doesn't mean that they know the truth. They don't know quite literally in that case what's up. They don't necessarily know that. They just know they're lying about what they claim is up. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!